Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome to Coffee and Conversation with me, your host, Kevin Smith. I am excited about tonight. I'm continuing my series on honoring teachers. So I'm definitely excited about who I have on tonight. This wraps up the honoring teachers series. So definitely looking forward to talking to two new teachers, and then just getting their perspectives on the things that they deal with and just being a teacher. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guest for this evening. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then we will get this conversation started. So, don't know where Renata went, but she'll be back soon. But I'm gonna have Michael go ahead and introduce himself, and then we'll continue on from there. What's going on, Mike?
What's going on? Thank you so much for having me. My name is Michael Oops. I am a sixth grade science teacher out here in the North Dallas area, as well as I'm a member of the notorious Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. So thank you so much for having me on tonight's podcast. It's been a blessing to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. And then I have Renata Hickson. Introduce yourself, Renata.
Hi, my name is Renata Hickson. I am a fifth grade math teacher this year, and I have been teaching for 14 years. Happy to be on the show.
All right. So, honoring teachers. So I wanted to. I feel like when when we look at careers and we look at what people do on a daily basis, that teachers are not honored enough. But y'all deal with people's kids all day. And so I wanted to just take this time to honor you all, to say thank you all. It does not go unnoticed, and I pray that you all continue to be a light to these kids, and to what the future holds for you in regards to being a teacher. Now, one of you all teach science, one of you all teach math. Now, Mike, I gotta ask you why science? Because science was never my subject in school. I hated science. So why science?
I'll tell you exactly like I tell my students and my parents or whatnot. When it comes to science or whatnot, science is definitely a whirlwind. A lot of things can go right, a lot of things can go wrong, but as long as the building is still standing at the end of the day and everybody is safe, then we have successfully mastered what we came to do.
Okay. And then Renato, why math?
There's a little bit of a misconception that you automatically get to choose what you're going to teach within the school system, especially with K-12. Um, my master's degree is in education. My bachelor's is in biology. So math and science were sort of first loves for me, and I initially wanted to go into the healthcare profession with that. And life started lifing, and then I eventually ended up being a teacher. So um, at this level, you either lose the students or you pull them all the way in when it comes to math. This is kind of a make or break situation at the middle school level. And because of the kind of teachers I had growing up, it just kind of drives me to be that to them. There's not a child that's ever been in my math class that's ever said that they didn't learn something. And I even have ones in college now who are messaging me and telling me that things that they got from me when they were in my middle school class is still helping them to this day.
Okay. So this question is for both of y'all. Why did you choose to be a teacher? Like why what made you become a teacher? Both of y'all smiling.
So, quick story time. This is also how I got my line name. You will hear me a lot of times reference my fraternity a lot because that's something I'm very passionate about. But in the middle of COVID, I was working for Goldman Sachs. Let me rephrase that, the Goldman Sachs, and I was making good money. So just was watching TV one day, laying on the couch, and Goldman Sachs, if you ever get a chance to work for them, it is one of the easiest jobs ever because you know they tell you exactly what their rubric is and what they want you to accomplish in so many hours and everything like that. So I was accomplishing things in like 2 minutes. So I would get on, make these calls, you know, knock out these cases within 2 minutes. And all of a sudden, I see on TV where they flashed where, oh, it's a teacher shortage or whatnot. You have all these kids that are at home, and first thing that they were talking about was they were talking about African American students. They weren't talking about the white kids, or they weren't talking about the Asian kids. They were talking about black students. And so I was like, okay, well, cool. I'm going to quit this job. Well, no, I was going to take a leave of absence. Took a leave of absence for a couple of months, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go do the training, whatever. Didn't think I was gonna get hired that August for a position. Just interviewed, got hired for a school, and I went to work at that school. Left my job a couple of weeks later and went to work there. So I gave up a lot to be a teacher. And so something happened with that school to where things did not necessarily work out the way that I planned for them to work out. And I left mid-year. I think I left maybe in February. And I was like, I'm not gonna teach. I am gonna go back to corporate America. I'm gonna be somebody's, you know, analyst, blah, blah, blah. Got picked up or whatever. As soon as enough, the day that I was supposed to actually go work for that new bank or whatnot, get another teaching gig or whatever that's actually paying a little bit more than that bank. And so went to work at that bank, and yeah, never walked out from the world of education. So I think for me, the reason why I'm a teacher is because there are not enough when it comes to African American children. They don't get a chance to say that they see someone who teaches a core subject that looks like them. I mean, if we actually analyze how many people can actually say that they had a black male science teacher, it's very few people that are going to be able to say that they had a black science teacher or whatnot. And especially at this age in life, because I teach sixth grade. So at the age of 12, that they can actually say that they had that. So that's my reason.
Okay. And Renata, why become a teacher? What made you become a teacher?
By accident. I had no intention of going into teaching. Anybody who knows me would say, "What? You're a teacher?" Um, I was in school for other things, and as I said before, life started lifing. I was born at the Camp Lejeune military base in North Carolina, and if you've seen anything about all the water contamination and all of that, my mother started getting sick. She got one cancer after another, after another, after another. And I had to leave school to go home and help take care of her a little bit. Well, when I came back, I was in physical therapy school. When I came back, I was too far behind my cohort to even catch up. So I was like, I need to pivot. What could I do easily? Well, I'd already been a straight A and B student, mostly A. Love Hamilton, absolutely. Um, I mostly was just a really strong student. I'm like, well, you already know how to go to school. Let's go to school, learn about going to school. And so here I am. And yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Michael, you talked about something that I actually talked about last week with the teachers I had on last week, which was African American males in the classroom. And this question is for both of you all. Why do you think there's a shortage of African American males in the classroom?
I think I don't think it's a shortage of just African American men inside the classroom. I think it is a shortage of African American educators in general. And a lot of times with that is because we are not appreciated. and I'm just gonna be honest or whatever. And let me put this disclaimer: my current personal views does not reflect my employer's views or my fraternity's views at all. So when it comes down to being an African American educator, this is what happens. I step inside of a school, no matter if it's white, black, Hispanic, predominantly. I'm expected to be everything. And here's the thing, this is where I can say that I resonate with my African American sisters, counterparts, or whatever. I think a lot of times when it comes to the world of education, and I think the best way to describe it is this: when it comes to my Caucasian counterparts, they get paid to be mediocre. I'm just gonna put it out there. You can come to work, you can do the bare minimum or whatnot. You can do a half done lesson and everything like that. Me, I come in to the school or whatnot. I'm expected to be a disciplinarian. I'm expected to be a coach. I'm expected to do this. I'm expected to do that. I'm expected to go over and beyond for bare minimum pay. And it happens every single time. When it comes down to progression or advancement inside of the educational system, guess who is the most overlooked? I am the most overlooked guy besides the African American woman or whatever, because if I say anything, I am thought of as aggressive. I am thought as mean. I am thought of as threatening or anything. All of those derogatory terms that are used to describe African Americans in general. So, for a lot of times when it comes to the world of education, what happens is you don't have too many African American individuals that want to go inside the classroom, because what you have all these other children who get sent to school. They are taught to be disrespectful. They are taught to be rude. They are taught that to be racist. Just the other day, I had a kid, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm able to use a little bit of profanity, but I would say that the kid who was biracial thought it was okay to tell another fully African American student with your black A. And if I put in the referral to say, oh, I need an admin or whatnot, guess what? Who doesn't get an admin? I don't get an admin to come to my classroom to see why this student felt the need to tell another student to get your black A, blah, 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 XYZ. What I'm expected to do is I'm expected to handle it and deal with that within my classroom. Now, flip it on the backside. If I have, I'm going to use, if I have Chuck over here and Chuck shows his complete behind in my classroom, well, and let's say, no, if Chuck shows his complete behind in Susan's classroom, and Chuck is threatening Susan and whatnot, and Chuck tells Susan, I hope you die. And I'm telling you this because this has actually happened within this past year, to where Chuck has told a Susan or a Karen, his exact words is, I hope you have you have an asthma attack so you die. Because he told Karen or Susan, whoever you want to call her or whatnot, because he told her that what happens when I come in at the time, my report time? Hey, Oots, we need to talk to you. And okay, what do you want to talk to me about? Well, we would like to take little Chuck and remove him from Karen or Susan's classroom and put him in your classroom. His mom is requesting him to be with a African American man, someone who has a strong presence, and I'm expected to deal with it from there. I don't get a chance to say no to children being rude, disrespectful, or anything like that. I'm expected to handle and deal with that. And for a lot of people, especially in our culture, that is hard to deal with or whatever, because we don't come from those backgrounds to where it's a yeah, or you mumble something when a teacher or somebody or adult tells you to do something, or you cuss somebody out, or you tell them that you hope that they die or whatnot, you get your neck broke down right then and there or whatever. And then your mama comes up to school and she breaks your neck or whatever. And then they both break your neck. So that's just what happens within our culture. But that does not, we don't see that these days. So I think it's just a lot for any African American, especially a man or a woman, to be placed in those threatening situations at all times. Like, everybody ain't got it like that to keep bailing themselves out of jail every 2 or 3 hours because your child feel like, they want to run up. I'm just going to be honest.
Okay. All right. We okay. All right. Renata.
Yes. The original question there was, oh,
I
and
know
the
I said a lot.
expressions.
why is there a lack? Why do you think there is a lack of African American males in the classroom? But then Michael, which is a actual a great question. Why is there a shortage of just African American men and women in the classroom?
I'm not finding that to be the case. Here where I am in Nashville, a lot of the teachers are African American men and women. I think that because a lot of us don't get full ride scholarships to school, we end up having to take out loans and pay for things. We're finding out that you don't make enough money as an educator to pay back the loan for the degree that you needed to do this job every day. You don't make enough to do that. And it's like you have to have a genuine calling on your soul to do this. You have to say, I love teaching, I love helping, I love children, or some combination of the three, or none of the three at different times throughout your teaching career to even be able to do this. We're learning that it's not appreciated in I'll say in our generation, as far as, Kevin, the year that we graduated was 1999. So parents would come to the school, parents would come get you together. My students to this day crack up and laugh when every time I tell them the last time I got a spanking was in the 11th grade at a Memphis City school. Because there is no discipline at home anymore. There is no parent to come up to the school and say, what is going on? Why is this teacher calling me? The first thing they do is believe anything that comes out of the kids' mouths after they've not been raised well, not been taught respect about anything about respect. Either they're being taught just respect your adults at home, or they're not even broaching the subject at all. And they do not care. Students will tell you, I don't care. My mama not gonna care either. You can call her, I'll call her, and pull out a cell phone. And it's just, you have to really, really go, this is a kid. This is a kid. Okay. We're on page 10. If you're gonna look at all those odd number problems, then we're gonna carry on.
Wow. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to do this, because I don't think that and I'm glad that you are being genuine and transparent about this, because I don't think, you know, parents and others really understand, like, yes, I love to teach, but sometimes I want to slap your kid upside the head. Sometimes I want to give them a spanking like we got, because that helped with our way of how we did school. We didn't want to, our parents to come up to the school because we didn't want to get a spanking, or we didn't want to get hit. I mean, I still remember, I think the last time I got a spanking was um, in 10th grade or 11th grade, and it was actually by our choir director. Because I still remember to this day. Love you, Mr. Gaston. But so when you all talk about that, and one of the things that both of you all said when y'all were talking was the parents. So how much influence does the parent have on the child in the classroom compared to how it was back in the day?
A lot.
None. They don't
A
have
lot.
any.
You know what? You know what? It's so funny that both of y'all did that right on cue. Um, okay, so why do you think that is? Like, because I know it's a different generation, but why do you think that is?
I think for me personally, when I look at my kids, I'm with a whole bunch of 12-year-olds. And so, of course, I'm probably out of all of this year, I coach as well. So with I'm dealing with my kids. I'm one of three black men within my school who teach a core subject, and that is also a coach. I probably teach the most core subjects out of any black man, as well as I deal with disciplinary issues and everything like that. So a lot of times, I'll say it like this. You know how when you're with any organization, you like, okay, well, we put our people who look the best or who look great on paper up front or whatever. Believe it or not, the education system does the exact same thing. And so they'll, pump, oh, well, Miss Hickson, she looks like this and blah, blah, blah. And she has all these degrees and certifications and everything or whatever. And then you get little Susan or whatnot. Susie comes to class or whatnot. And Susie's mom may be 25. And you start doing the math in your head, you be like, okay, we dealing with a baby that had a baby or whatnot. So basically, not only am I raising you, I am raising your child too, or whatever. And you gotta basically, like, at the beginning of the year, I told my parents, and I'm just being transparent. I don't care who you call. You will not dictate my classroom. You will not do XYZ. And some parents, they do try it or whatever. And I had one parent tell me this one time. She said, "Tom, about, well, Mr. Oos did da 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 to my kid, and he told my kid he would have them put in ISS if she didn't do the assignment." And I'm sitting in a meeting, a middle of a meeting, and I'm with the principal, and the principal's looking at me like, "Did you say that?" And I said, "I sure did." And I said, "Because here's the thing." I said, "The reason why I'm sitting in this meeting is because of her and the daughter. The daughter does not want to do my assignments, so therefore I'm having to do whatever I have to do in order to get the work done or whatever. Because we keep having these same meetings and revisiting the same conversations." So I think it is based on what parents are allowed. If your kid thinks that they come to my classroom, they're gonna talk to me reckless, which 9 times 10, they always try it within the first 2-3 weeks, and then we kind of get things understood of where we're gonna go in life and how things are gonna roll or whatever. That lets me know exactly what goes on at home. And 9 times 10, when we have meet the teacher night or open house or whatever, I see it happen every single time.
Hmm.
I'll
Renee?
agree with that. I'll agree with that. I'm not the one or the two, so I don't get those issues in my class. They will try to act out in the other classes. I'm the team lead, and which makes me the senior teacher, which I don't understand how people keep putting me in charge of things. When did I become this age? Um, but every time if something goes left, I'm going to look for an adultier adult than myself. But the two teachers that work under me are in their 20s. Me being not in my 20s, I'm I'm not going for it. Not today, not tomorrow. We can have this same discussion every day. I get on my Shannon Sharp. I got to have you. You want the smoke, you gonna get it. So you decide how we're gonna act this school year. You can love it here, you can hate it here. You choose. So they still go and do in other classes and other places. But then the downside to my strong or my firm disciplinarian hand is that I always got to handle the disciplined people. And that's not, it's like the reward for doing your job well is more work.
Hmm. I
It's
understand that.
almost like that. And in your defense, it's almost like you end up doing double duty. And here's the thing, I love what I do. I love pouring inside the future because God knows or whatever. If I go to Walmart, if I go to Kroger's or whatnot, I expect if I give you 20, you better be able to count that change back to me correctly. Like, hey, I don't want to sit here and wonder, like you sitting here trying to figure out, and I got to tell you what to give me or whatever. However, or whatever, it is gone are the days where you actually had to be put in work to be a teacher. Now being a teacher is like, and I hate to say it because it diminishes our job, but I'm going to keep it all the way 100. It's almost like I work at McDonald's because everybody can have it their way or whatnot. I come to work or whatever, I put the fries down or whatnot, hand it out the window or whatever. That's what it comes across sometimes when you're dealing with people who don't know how to connect to different ethnic groups, particularly our children or whatever, and they don't know how to talk to our children. Like I asked one of my kids, I said, why is it? I said, if I said, please don't do that, I said, you'll continue to do it. If I said, please stop doing that, you continue to do it. But if I sit here and I put a grimace on my face and be like, if you don't sit down right now or whatever, you understand that language. And one of the kids said, looked at me, he said, because he said, you really got to talk to me in a language that I understand. He said, I don't understand when you are nice to me and you say, hey, stop doing that. Please don't hit JoJo. Don't do that. He said, but if you put a grimace on your face and you said, if you don't sit down or whatever, he said, I can resonate with that. He said, because that's what I hear at home or whatever. And he said, and it lets me know like, hey, I am overstepping my boundaries or whatever, and I am going to do something that is going to have to cause you to react.
And it speaks to the kids craving that structure. They really do want that structure. They want the routine. They can't come out and say that. They're kids. They don't know that. They don't know that's why they love it when you fuss at them. Or after I've said, sit down, don't do that. Whose shoe is this? Take that out of your mouth. They don't like that part. You have to say, bruh, can you sit down? Like you got to hit them with a bruh every once in a while, like they try to do. And they go, and they respond. They were like, oh, she's attempting to meet us on our level. I like that. I might just see what she has to say. But it doesn't always work when you have the ones that, for example, I have a kid. I can't describe her too accurately because I don't know how far reaching this podcast is going to be, but she basically looks like a teeny tiny adult. She comes in with the tight tops that are way too small, and she's got a little baby pot belly and the little ripped up jeans. It's like, did you get lost in your mom's closet playing dress up? Like, oh no, this is for real. This is how you're coming to you. Oh, you dress like this all the time. Okay, all right. She can't read. She can barely count to triple digit, but you have on the newest shoes. You have this newest phone. You have all these gadgets, and devices. So no effort was put into making her be a well-rounded fifth grader at this point. But you spending a lot of money on her exterior, but pouring nothing into her interior. Mind empty, spirit empty, looking at inappropriate stuff, repeating the most inappropriate rap lyrics in the middle of class, but you can't tell me how you divide to fractions. I don't understand. It's just the wrong things are being focused on. For me personally, there are way too many kids in my class that have an iPhone, a different pair of Jordans every day, and never will wear an outfit. But you can barely do your assignment. That's an issue for me. There is no, the powers that be claim that there's accountability for the students. They have to do this, they have to do that, but it's really not. There's no books. Everything's online. Here, do this on the computer. Oh, well, don't give them too much homework. Oh, yes, if they failed it, let them redo it. What do you mean let them redo it? You redo it? What's redo it? Where in life, as an adult, do we get to redo it if we screw something up? Excuse me. If we mess something up, something major. I broke a law. Am I going to get a do-over or am I going to get a penalty for that?
you brought up an interesting point when you said that the parents these days they pour in so much into the exterior instead of the interior. To give you you guys a scenario, I have a student right now, and because of the way that the government is now structuring itself or whatever, one thing that they're doing is they're taking all books that are um, talking about basically our history, the books that are talking about color and all of that stuff, and making African American children be proud of who they are and where they come from off the shelves. But this kid was able to go to our school bookstore, and African American girl or whatever, and she was able to buy a book that pretty much promoted trans being becoming a transgender at the age of 12.
That is insane.
But the little girl can't read. But their hair is gonna be done. She gonna have the newest pair of J's or whatnot. Cause I had to ask her about the nines, low key or whatever. See, she was gonna get them and blah blah blah. That's neither here or there. But I mean, it's very sad that I can have like she can tell me she in class, yeah, glow and all this other stuff, but I can't. When I ask you what's 1 + 1, you sitting here one and it's 3, right? And I'm like, it's sad at this point. And if I don't say anything on this podcast tonight, I will say this: as African Americans, as a people, as a new generation today, we have to do better when it comes to our children and how they are perceived in the educational system, because it's more than just me and Miss Hickson that is looking at this or whatnot. There are other African American teachers who are having these same conversations that we're all three having right now. Our kids are being left behind, and then they're sent out into the world. Then they're declared 504. Are they really 504? Which 504, for the ones who are listening that don't know, is basically saying that there is some kind of learning disability, and it basically puts evens out the playing field for the child. Or are they sped? 9 times 10, our kids, and I'm just being honest, African Americans, we have some of the most intellectual kids ever. Our kids learn things early or whatnot. So when they're, we're teaching them their ABCs and their 1, 2, 3s and all that stuff. Our kids are very intelligent. However, somewhere along the lines within COVID or somewhere within this Generation Z, we have dropped the ball tremendously. And it shows, because every single time it's time for art or whatnot, the first thing they want to say, oh, well, your kid has some kind of learning disability. Do they have some kind of learning disability? Or did you, as the parent, drop the ball in making sure that you enhance your child's learning abilities beyond the classroom? The learning does not stop just because it is 3:30, 4:30, whatever time that school ends. The learning is supposed to continue at home. And I do understand that there are parents out there that do work night shifts. I come from a single parent household as well. But there are weekends, there are other avenues for your child to learn. There are all these different programs within the D9s or even Sylvia, wherever you are, to make sure that your child has an enhanced learning experience going beyond the classroom.
So, so one of the things I want to ask both of you all, because I've seen this and I know this just by the amount of teachers that I know. Do you all feel that and I think one of you all said it earlier, is that when you walk in a classroom, you didn't think, or walking in a classroom, that you were going to be not just a teacher, but you were going to be a parent as well, because a lot of these kids don't have the parent at home. They don't have a mother or they don't have a father. So to them, when they come to school, you are their parent. You are the one that's teaching them something that they're not probably getting at home. So how do you all feel about that? Because I was talking last week to the teachers last week, and I told them that when I finally graduate, I'm supposed to graduate next fall, thank God, and I'm actually thinking about changing careers and becoming a teacher. I've always wanted to become a teacher, um, but after listening to y'all two today, I'm but I think that it's 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 a priceless job to do, and it's something that you have to want to do. Like Renata said, like you have to want to do this. It's not something that you just wake up one day and say, "Hey, I want to be a teacher," without some notion of knowing that you want to be a teacher. But I feel like teachers are mentors, teachers are parents to these kids. So just speak on that as far as when it comes to the kids looking at you all not just as a teacher but as a mentor or a parent.
A lot of the kids do definitely. I mean, it's just I'm just now trying to get used to some of the bigger kids will call me Mama Hickson, and I'm like, I don't want to be your mama. But I didn't notice it as much before I became a parent myself. I'm a mom of two younger kids, 11 and 7. um, you notice how much they cling to you and hold on to you and overshare everything about what's going on in their houses. And you have to really look and see underneath all this attitude, all of this bravado. It's just a little kid. It's a little kid that wants to know that you see them and that you hear them and that you can offer them something in the form of structure, in the form of encouragement, in the form of protection. And that's going to look different from student to student. Some are just going to need you to hear them and let them ramble on about nothing. Somebody's going to want you to show them how to use feminine hygiene products. Someone's going to want you to show them how do they fix their bra strap. Oh no, my zipper's stuck. All the kinds of things you have to do with kids in kindergarten, you just do a different version of it all the way up through college. You still have to actively basically raise them. And I do think it's a bit of unfairness because as a parent, you're tasked with making sure your child has a place to live, has clothes on their body, has food in their belly. Um, and I would think you should be responsible for making sure they're a decent person. But as a teacher, not only am I responsible for checking that you have a place to go home to at night, I'm also responsible for making sure that you have food to eat, have clothes to wear, not being hurt or abused or forced to go to work or something like that. There's so many things. There's a lot of layers that you have to peel back and address each one. On top of I also have to make sure you're not secretly cutting yourself, that you're not um, being exposed to adult themes, that nobody's touching you inappropriately, all while making sure you can pass the state test.
Mm,
That's, that's a lot.
yeah.
It is.
Don't
I would say
don't
for
do
me
it.
or
Don't
whatever, I tell
do
my
it.
kids like there's a running joke at my school is I tell all my students, I'd be like, I'm your first boyfriend, I am your school daddy, I'm your counselor, I am your principal, I am your pastor, I am everything to you. I'm your doctor, I'm everything. Everything that you possibly think of, I am your first everything. I said, if you ever notice or whatnot with all my students, I tell them like I'd never address you by uh yeah, you, whatever. Um, Now I always tell my kids, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And then one of the kids said to me last year, why you always address me by sir? And I said, because at the end of the day, I said, I want you to know that you deserve a level of respect. And when you leave my classroom and you go out there inside the world or whatnot, you need to demand your respect from every single person that you encounter. And so I think I will agree with you, Renata, is that you I don't have kids. That ain't it's like they didn't give me enough gray hairs right now. But for me, of whatever you learn that you are responsible for this human being or whatever. I have kids right now that I literally haven't, which I got to refill tomorrow. I keep a snap drawer for like my 7th and 8th graders. Now I don't teach 7th and 8th graders, but last year they were my 6th graders, and it was 7th graders. And so they come to me, because they have the latest lunch, and I keep, snacks for them so they can come get something to eat or whatnot, especially my athletes. So they can come get something to, replenish their fuel for the day. Or sometimes that may be the only snack that they have. They'll eat off something crazy. I can go to Salads and Go and get a salad. Don't even finish it because the salad is huge. And they'll eat and be like, I'm going to eat the rest of your salad. And be like, I had a fork off in there and I was double dipping. I don't care about it. Just give me a new fork or whatever. And, you look at that and you be like, that is so disgusting. But for them or whatnot, it's small. It'd be like, okay, I'm hungry. You have food or whatnot. And if you say I can have it or whatever, germs is the last thing that I'm worried about. I just want food. And sometimes they just want it just because you gave it to them or whatever. And so it's just one of those things that when you become a teacher, if you ever become one, Kevin, I think that you realize that it is no longer about yourself. A lot of times whenever, and I'm pretty sure Renata can attest to this, when we create our wish list for the year or whatever, a lot of that stuff doesn't even get bought. That doesn't include what we've purchased this summer. That doesn't include what we're spending throughout the year. We purchase that stuff ourselves. And then to only turn around and get a $250 tax credit off of it, it's not even worth it, because by then you ain't even kept the receipts to even remember what you done spent.
It works. It works a little differently for my school. They'll give us $200. They'll attach it to your, I think, October paycheck, and that's supposed to give you the money to buy some stuff for your room. And then the only thing is you have to turn in those receipts. So they give us a binder to keep those receipts. I'm horrible. I almost always end up having to pay the money back because I never keep the receipts, because I just end up buying so much stuff. I need to turn those receipts in next week. I have no clue where they are.
Amazon.
So, Michael, you said something that I wanted to bring up. I mean, y'all just talked about it. I was actually, it's crazy that you all talk about this. I was actually watching a TikTok on yesterday, and it was just one of those showing a teacher had this compartment of deodorant, toothbrush, snacks, and she was actually filling it up. And I was looking at the comments. I always like to go in and look at the comments of what people say. And, a lot of people was like, wow, I didn't know that this happens at the school. And when you look at deodorant, when you look at toothpaste, and you look at, well, these are things you're supposed to do before you even come to school. You're supposed to put deodorant on. You're supposed to brush your teeth. You're supposed to do all this, but it doesn't happen. And the lack thereof, does that play a part in them in their learning? That's the first question. And then how does that affect their mental health is the second question.
It does play a part into their learning. I'm dealing with that situation right now. As a Black man teacher, and this kind of breaks my heart to hear, because I know when I started using deodorant, I was like 6 or 7. And, you start out with Tussie.
Come on,
When my mom was like, right. And my mom at the age of 7, she's like, baby, Tussie ain't working. Then we went to Right Guard. And then she's like, oh, no. Right Guard done went left. We now need to switch over to something a little bit stronger. But it breaks my heart, especially with I teach at a predominantly white district. It breaks my heart to see my African American students go through that, because we already have a hard time. We already have to deal with the stigma of poverty. And to know that this is how it actually is in Dallas. A lot of times what happens is the kids who are out in the inner city, which is downtown Dallas or whatnot, the hoods of Dallas, they are bused into the North Dallas area schools or whatnot because they are a little bit better, and the kids are using grandpa, grandma, aunt, uncle's address or cousin's address in order to just get a school to go to school. I have a kid right now, and I put this on everything I love. You cannot tell me that this kid is not malnourished. But his version of a meal is he has a bag of Takis every morning, and Doritos and Funyuns and everything like that. And he can barely stand. He kind of hunched over and ashy and everything like that. And it's times where I'll be like, I've seen kids pick on him, and I'll be like, well, and I have to tell my African American students, he is the same race as you. Instead of talking about him because he already has to deal with a whole different demographic talking about him, why don't you, if you know you got Bath and Body inside of your backpack, or you got Nivea inside of your backpack, why don't you go in your backpack and here be like, here, bro, you gotta get the elbows a little bit or whatever. Help the man out. You got Axe. I ain't saying drown the man in Axe or whatever, but help the man out. So it's hard as a black man to see that happen amongst our children, because I even with my black female students be like, hey, you might want to go see this black teacher and let her help you out a little bit or whatever, because there's only so much I can do. But those kind of moments, they do bring a tear to your eye, and it is something that is not highlighted within the African American community, because we think, yes, I sent my child to school or whatever. They went to school. I'm doing work my 18 hours a day as a parent or whatnot. I think my kid is taking a bath every night, and sometimes the kids don't know. They just don't. They don't know that you don't just go from playing outside to putting on Axe, and you think that's supposed to take the place of actually taking a bath. It just doesn't happen that way.
And you don't learn if you're hungry. You can't learn if you smell bad. You can't learn if you haven't been to sleep. And it doubles back to what he was saying about our food and how they get so attached to us, and like, I don't care if you just finished eating, let me have it. Nobody's cooking for them. They're not getting a well-rounded, balanced diet. They're not getting all the, what is it, the food pyramid. There's no happy plates being made at these houses. There's no happy plates because there's no way in the world that you consider Takis in the morning, noodles for lunch, and a bunch more junk when you get home. Like, that's what you ate all day. That's why your attitude sucks. This is why you think the way you do. And on top of that, you're not bathing. And even more so, like the ones who say, oh, I take a shower every day, but still come in smelling. It's like, do you know what that means to take a bath or to take a shower? It's like they haven't been shown like how to do it. Like, you have to. I go in and I make like funny statements, and I'll say, all right, kids, so it's getting to be spring out, flowers are blooming, some of y'all are too. Anything that folds on itself, elbow, armpit, knee pit, any place where there's a joint on your body, put a stuffy towel near it, clean it, freshen it up, put on some lotion, put on some deodorant, do all of that, and then come to school. Because the constant trying to groom at school, like, it's not, I point out to them, you don't see adults doing this all day. You shouldn't see any adults putting on deodorant at work or laying down baby hair like all the children keep doing, which is really irking me. Even the boys, oh my god. But it's a lot. There are a lot of little pieces that you don't think about because these are other people's kids. So you just assume that whatever adult is responsible for them is teaching these lessons and is enforcing, these habits, and it's not always happening, especially not at the lower income level. It's not happening. It's a huge, huge, huge difference between our middle class student and our, I don't want to say lower classes. That makes it sound like, some kind of caste system, but and I hate that word too because I grew up under that label of, I guess, economically disadvantaged, but you couldn't tell me that. I had everything, but I also had my A's and my B's, and I didn't smell like cat pee when I came to school, and I had a well cooked breakfast, and I grew up in the poorest areas of Memphis, Tennessee. Shout out South Memphis, but what's the saying? You're from it but not of it, or of it but not from it. I forget how it is. Like there's these parents are not doing the legwork to make sure your son knows how to brush his hair with the grain before he comes to school, or put that little spongy thing on his head to make the curls. I don't know how to do that thing either. But it's these things have to be taught. They can't take for granted that you know how to do everything. And to piggyback a little bit further in your comment when you're talking about COVID, the group of kids we have now, well, the group of kids I have in fifth grade now were what, second graders then? They have completely forgotten how to be people. They don't know how to do life. If they can't Google it, they don't know how to do it. I have so many of them that don't even know that their parents have first names, like mom, dad. Okay, but they were someone else. Before they were your parent, they had an identity. They were just them. They don't know their names. They don't know how to use a phone. Like, well, I pressed the buttons on the phone. What happened? Well, you never picked up the receiver. This is a landline. This is not a cell phone. There's lots of little things like that that they don't have in place.
Mm.
And just to touch a little bit more about what you said earlier, it's the materialistic things. I think with this new age, the parents are more so, oh, well, you come to school in a Beamer or whatnot. And so, or you come to school in a Benz or whatever. And at the end of the day or whatever, what is a Benz when you can't afford the maintenance? What is a Beamer when you can't afford the maintenance? So it's one of those things that it's the latest and the greatest, but I think if I'm being practically honest, I really think we as a society we are doomed if we're dependent on this generation that we're currently educating to lead the world because they don't know anything or whatnot. They don't know about MapQuest. If I gotta go somewhere, I look on MapQuest, print them directions out, and you know what? You sitting there counting, you counting on your dashboard to see 0.5, 0.2 miles. They don't know nothing about that, but they can tell you they know about AI. They know about cheating, plagiarism. They just don't know it's called plagiarism, but they know it or whatever. So it's one of those things where you just honestly, I can say as a black male educator, there have been times where I have thought about leaving. As a matter of fact, this week was one of those weeks where I did think about. I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm tired. And then you get stuff like, and I'll read to you guys what one of my students sent me today. So my school they had a little fundraiser where they had open gym, and so I was like, "It's everybody's going or whatever. I'll pay it, whatever." So she sends me a message. She said, "Thank you for paying for me, and thank you for always being the only teacher that even shows up to meetings for me without being asked. You always go." Even when you weren't asked, you are the best teacher I've ever had. And I mean it. I'm so grateful for you more than any student has. Sworn. Thank you, Mr. Oops. And so you get those kind of messages. It's like, dang, I was just thinking about, this may be my last year. Okay, I can do one more year or whatever. And and you get these from the problematic kids. And I have to label them as problematic because they're not problematic. They are just students that are searching for love that they don't receive from other teachers or other individuals inside their life. This is one of them these students that I have to say, hey, go sit down. Hey, get away from me. Hey, do this. Hey, no, you're not doing this. And I'm like on her neck. My foot is on her neck every single time. But when she sent me this or whatever, and she's like, no, just take the paper. I'm like, whatever, give it here. I'll take it. And I'm going to go get my lunch. And I'm sitting here in my car. I'm like, God dog it. And I'm like, I'm a G. I ain't finna cry today. I'm a G. I don't do the tears or whatever. So you get those moments and you're just like, dang, this is where I'm supposed to be. I guess it's not about the money. I guess no matter what, I like them sometimes.
So I gotta say this because you brought it up, but and I feel like both of you all have had this happen more than once, but it's those moments that Michael you're talking about, and Renata, I'm pretty sure you've experienced over the years. It's those moments right there that kids will remember as they get older, and they'll look back and say, who was your favorite teacher when they've gone to become successful, and you think to yourself, man, like this child caused me so many problems in school, but they go on to be a lawyer. They go on to own their own company because you had a part and you played a part in their lives, and you were the one who put that spark in them when no one else did. And so um when I think about that, and I hear you talk about that, Michael, and I've heard it so many times from teachers that I know, that those moments are priceless. Those moments right there are what every kid wants to have. A teacher that cares, a teacher that just pays them a little bit of attention because they probably don't get the attention at home. And so I just want to say, that I appreciate you all for continuing to push through, even though some days can be harder than others. But one of the things I want to do, I've been doing this for a while on my show, is myths. So we're talking about honoring teachers. So I found these myths about teachers, and I want y'all to speak on them. The first myth: those who can do, those who can't teach.
Those who can teach, those who cannot make rules about people who are supposed to be doing the teaching.
Roger that. All right. Moving on. Um, there's always a lot of teaching jobs available.
There's always a lot of teaching jobs available, but let's ask the real question: why is there a lot of teaching jobs available? You
Mm,
have the same qualifications that I have, or whatever. And if not, there are schools that are willing to overlook the fact that you don't have those qualifications to offer you a job. So whenever I have to go back and I have to see, oh, I got $700 in food stamps, no shade towards anybody or whatever. But at the end of the day, or whatever, it's me that gives up my paycheck or what I could be making or whatnot to educate your child so your child can go on to make more than what I currently make. So at
mm,
the end of the day, while we're sitting here discussing anything about a child or whatever, let's just be practically real. It is because of teachers like me, Miss Renata, any other teacher that's inside this world, the reason why there is an economy.
mm. Teachers have a lot of extra time during the day.
No, there's no extra time. Every minute is accounted for. Even the ones where you're supposed to be duty free, those minutes are accounted for. You have to be supervising children from the time you get there to the time you leave. Um, Planning sometimes is interrupted by having to be responsible for another teacher's class because those shortages show up when you need subs and can't get one when someone's out.
Mm. All right. Teachers collect unemployment over the summer.
No, teachers work real hard for what we get all year long because those during the school year we just don't get our full paycheck. We pinch off of that and they give it to you in the summer so that you don't miss a check. It's not extra.
But let's talk about that real quick, because I'm a money man. I think numbers or whatever. I sometimes question people's ability to realize that, and the reason why I say this because here's the thing: if the starting will just use a medium average. Let's say the medium average for a teacher is $50,000, right? If we broke down how many, I'm with your child 8 hours a day. I may go home and, well, I'm gonna go ahead and count this 8 hours a day. If I stay after school to support your child inside of a extracurricular activity, whether it's football, basketball, track, dance, whatever, that's another 2 hours that I didn't get paid for. Then once I go home to grade or whatever, that is probably what, 4 hours of the day, depending on how many students you do have or whatever, and how much you have to grade or whatever. So we're already looking at what, 14 hours a day. And then you turn around to plan a lesson, and if you're planning a legitimate good lesson, um, or whatever, you're talking about another 2 hours or whatever, not including the prep that you took arriving to school or whatever, 2 hours early. So therefore you can prep. So you look at that, that's already past 18 hours. And then I'm supposed to get 8 hours of sleep. So I think where America gets, things misconstrued. I have never made, as a teacher, what I am supposed to make. We make less than minimum wage. I am working on the weekends. As a matter of fact, once I get off this podcast, I have to sit down and I have to email teachers to explain why students are cheating inside their class. And then it comes to my class, or I'm planning for a lesson for tomorrow. And I think some people don't really take that in
Brother, you
consideration.
want to speak
No,
on that?
and it's no offense to no one, but I think we just have to be realistic. When it comes to corporate America, when you log off every single day, you are done for the day. That educator is not done for the day. They're going home to their families and they're working in between their family time.
This educator is not doing that. This educator was almost up out of here with breast cancer last year. So when I tell my children every day, if y'all are going to ask me questions about the lessons that we did, you have until 5. I don't answer emails past 5. I don't grade at home. I don't bring anything from work home. If it's not going to be done during my planning or while I'm doing tutoring after school, it's not getting done until the next business day. I bring none of that home anymore because we had our school counselor and she was with us maybe a year. She was sick the entire time, like terminally ill the whole time, and we had no idea. When I tell you, we barely even got notification that she passed away before we got the notification we were getting a new counselor. So I'm not doing that. I'm not running myself into the ground for this profession or any profession. I have to be here for my own children. And matter of fact, once we hop off here, I got to go do DAS and bedtime and story time and sit up under my husband and remember that life outside of my classroom is pretty darn great.
Okay. Well, man, again, I thank you all. I thank you all for what you do. It does not go unnoticed. That's why I wanted to honor you all. Sometimes it does, but again, I thank you all for what you do because everyone could not do this job. So, what I want to do now, Renata, I'll have you go first, is final thoughts. Anything you want to say, anything you want to put out, and then Michael will go to you. So, Renata?
I was fortunate enough to have experienced some of the best teachers in the world, I think. And they were amazing. You already mentioned one, Mr. Gaston, Cartwright, Ms. Tuggle in middle school, Ms. Harden. There are so many teachers who poured into me both academically, but also spiritually and socially, emotionally, and made sure that I had what I needed. Miss Sandifer, there's so many. And I strive to always give some of that back to my students, just kind of as a pay it forward, as a thank you for them for doing what they did for me growing up. And even on the days that it doesn't seem like it's appreciated, I have to be true to what I signed up for. I signed up to be an educator. And even though I got to it in the most roundabout way possible, it's what I'm doing right now. And I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities until I hand in my badge and say I'm out.
All right, Michael, your final thoughts.
So my final thoughts. I um First, let me say this. Kevin, thank you so much for allowing me to come on this podcast tonight to actually express, to showcase what teachers actually go through. This does not go unnoticed, and it does not go unseen. The reason why I really became a teacher was really just to show appreciation to teachers like back in my hometown, I had Coach Cleveland, I had the Miss Price, I had the um, both of the Miss Griffins or whatnot, who played a very inspirational part into my life or whatnot. I had the Miss Anspons who stayed on me or whatnot. So it's just basically to give thanks to all of those teachers who have basically paved the way for teachers like me today. As I part this podcast, I encourage everyone out there who's watching to take time out to basically show your child's student or show an educator some grace or whatnot. You never know where life may turn out or whatnot. You may be just like me. You may end up leaving corporate America to become a teacher. But while I am here, I am going to make sure that I help America's next generation become the best that they possibly can, and to make sure that we're all in great hands whenever we get to be those that good old rotten old age. So thank you for actually having me.
All right. So again, I thank you all. Thank you for your time. Again, I honor both of you all for a profession that is priceless, is needed in this day and age to continue to teach these kids, continue to help them become greater than they can even fathom. So thank you, Renata. Thank you, Michael. So definitely looking forward to seeing what you all continue to do as you continue on with your profession. All right. So that concludes the two-part series on honoring teachers. Stand by. Definitely will be putting out some more information. Start a new topic on next week. So I'm looking forward to that. But whether it's late at night, early morning, mid afternoon, a cup of Joe and a conversation can always get you right. This has been Kevin Smith, Coffee and Conversation. Have a good night.